Welcome to the Funbalanced podcast, a podcast of unbalanced conversation. My name is Ian, and joining me on this journey are Jay.
Hey.
And John.
Hello.
Since this is our first episode, I should talk a little bit about what Funbalanced is. We've had a lot of unbalanced conversations in our lives, and I've especially had those kind of conversations with the two other people who are joining me here. But to get to know me a little bit, my name is Ian. I am a tabletop game designer, and I have known Jay since childhood. I don't know what age. What age were we?
Ooh, that is a great question. I actually had that debate with another friend today that we have known for, I would say, relatively the same amount of time. I might have met you a little earlier than that other friend that I'm speaking of. I would say first or second grade.
Wow. That's a long time. That's longer than I thought. And we're not young, I would say.
Well, no, not anymore. Not anymore.
You're almost old.
Almost. We're halfway there. Is that my cue to take over? I'm Jay. I am a marketing specialist. I'm also a game artist who works with various other people, mostly in game jams. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. Like Ian said, we've known each other forever. We've had a ton of adventures. John and I are newly acquainted, but I hear we do have a lot in common, especially in the video game realm.
Yeah, there's definitely some overlap in our interests. I mean, besides Ian.
Besides Ian, yeah.
He's our favorite hobby. But yeah, I'm Jonathan Gilmore. I'm a tabletop game designer as well. I've known Ian for, 10 years? 12 years maybe, Ian?
Listen, we've established that I'm bad with time.
Oh, me too.
What is time?
Jay said first grade, and it's been my mission since then to try and figure out how long ago that was, and I can't. I haven't figured it out. It's been like a full minute, and I still have nothing.
Ian, you would have been 6. So subtract that from your age. How old are you?
I am the 33rd year of my life.
So 27 years ago.
Damn.
That seems about right? I would say 6 or 7. I'm trying to gauge it by when I switched to a different school, and that was right around 4th grade. It was like the end of 4th grade. So I'd say it had to be about 1st grade.
Yeah, so I've known Ian like 12 years or so. He was still in 2nd grade when we met.
You'll get there.
I was going to get there one day.
Yeah.
I had to Billy Madison my way through again.
Yeah, you're graduating this year, right? Since it's about 10 years.
Yeah, you'll be in junior high here soon. It'll be awesome.
You just kind of did the cartoon spin your wheels thing for about 27 years.
Yeah.
And then you took off like a bolt.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, we met each other at the factory we were both working at and bonded over our love of tabletop games.
I feel like that's going to be a whole story in itself.
Oh, it is. There are 2 versions of how we met, and we realized them at different times, but I don't think that was a story for this episode.
Fair.
That's for the Origins episode, which is oddly not
fun episode.
Not the first one.
It's not this one.
What is this one?
You have to tune in.
Well, I guess the story for this episode is a thing that I did recently that I'm not necessarily ashamed of, but it's definitely a thing that I know John and I have commiserated over as we are both tabletop designers, and this has happened to both of us. But one of the games that I co-designed, it's called Wonderland's War. It's an Alice in Wonderland type themed game. Has a lot of mechanics to it, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving parts. Is recently delivered, and so friends of mine wanted to play it. So I was like, great, I will obviously teach it. I know the rules.
Turns out you didn't.
It turns out I was lying because I taught that game wrong to my friends. When we played the entire game wrong from the beginning. So a little bit of backstory for what type of game it is. It is a bag building game, which means there are these chips of different values and abilities that will go into a bag that you use throughout the game.
So for people who aren't tabletop gamers, it's not that you start with a bunch of loose fabric scraps.
Yeah, they're sewed into a bag shape.
I was going to ask. I'm the odd man out here.
Although now I want to make a bag construction game where you actually just have to make bags.
You have to learn how to sew. Do needlepoint.
Can I have one of those things that protects your thumbs? No, you don't have $3.
You have to buy them.
That's a couple skill points away.
But yeah, so you have chips and different items or different things that will go into your bag, and whenever something happens, you'll draw things out of the bag, and that's how you resolve the parts of the game. Is you draw stuff out of the bag, see what you get. I forgot a very specific chip that's supposed to start in every single player's bag. And we didn't have it for the entire game, and it kind of makes the game a little bit worse, honestly.
Yeah, that sounds like
I was
worse.
like, by the end of it, at the end of it, I was like, man, why didn't this didn't run as smooth as I remember?
Okay.
But so the real issue, I think, and it's the part that I think John and I commiserate on, is that as designers, it has been months to like a year or more since the last time we probably touched the game or played it, right?
Of course, yeah.
Once it like shows up. And during that process of like design and development, you probably go through 20 or 50 versions of each rule that exist in the game. And all of those live up in our stupid noodle brains. And you have to then, when you're teaching someone, you have to remember what was the rule that ended up in the rule book.
Yeah. I imagine it can get a little foggy, especially, man, I couldn't imagine working on multiple projects.
I mean, it's hard enough remembering the rules for games that I play for fun.
Sure.
And playing my own garbage games. I don't want to remember those rules.
I had a friend tell me that they put rule books on their bedside table and read them like in bed, like before they go to sleep. And I'm like, that sounds awful.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare.
Huh.
You ever just like read an IKEA instruction manual just for fun, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even read like a real book before bed because I just don't have the energy to do it.
So I think the begging question is, even though you played the game wrong, did everybody have fun?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, everyone was just like, yeah, this is great. And I was like, cool. And then the next day I was like, oh no, I taught it wrong. And then I did the right thing. I admitted it. I told them that I taught it wrong. And the player who didn't win was like, yes, there's an asterisk. And the player that did win was like, still counts.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's all that matters. Success. Next time, I will go ahead and teach everyone how to play this game correctly. And then we'll see who the true victor is.
No, I think you're onto something here, Ian. I think you should purposely teach your games wrong every time.
Oh, that is something.
And then when you're done, you're like, did everybody have fun? And even if they say like, yeah, it was all right, you're like, don't worry, it's better with the real rules. I tricked you.
Yeah. Yep. That's the low bar. I use that everywhere.
Yeah, you don't want to deliver the best experience the first game. That's not a thing that we do.
Yeah.
No. You got to build up to it.
Then they have to play it a second time to play it with all the right rules.
Oh yeah, now you're also tricking them and locking them into a second play session.
I know.
You have to now.
Yeah, if there's one thing that people love, it's being tricked.
And then if you have two different winners, there's a rubber match. Yeah, they have to hash it out and see who the true victor is. It's awesome.
So yeah, so that was a thing that I did recently that I was like, well, at least I get a story out of it.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, I did that for about 6 months straight when Dead of Winter came out. I routinely taught it with the wrong rule every time I demoed it. Hundreds of times at conventions, teaching it to everybody that would play it. Every time there was a rule. The same rule wrong.
So do you think that there's enough of a group of people that have learned it that way that there's like a subset of Dead of Winter players that play it that way exclusively and have no idea?
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's reciprocated out, and probably about a quarter of the Dead of Winter players out there have played it incorrectly.
You've created factions. You like sort of a comic book series that it may draw inspiration from. You've created the faction of survivors out there who are just like, this is the way.
I mean, this is how the mandala effect happens, right? It's idiots like me that teach something wrong, and people are like, no, I remember it this way.
Well, it kind of bleeds into that house rules thing, too. Like, sometimes that's just how it is. Some people learn that the first time, and, they go with it forever. And then they're surprised later on when they realize there's actual other rules.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you throw up in your mouth at the thought of house rules. That happens too.
So let's talk about this, John.
Oh, you want to talk about this? It's one of our favorite things to talk about.
What are your thoughts on house rules?
I think I am not in favor of them 99.9% of the time.
So you're like Mr. Clean. It's like almost all the germs, but not that like that 0.1.
Well, it's not like he purposely ignores germs. It's not like, nah, these are good germs. I mean, it's
letting
just
that one slide.
Yeah, it's just statistics. Like, you're gonna miss some. You can't get 100%.
So you only like them when you're the one creating the house rule on
No,
accident.
I don't even want to create them. I don't like them. And I generally don't make them. There is one game at a specific player count, and I've actually lobbied them to just make another edition of the game with this rule included so that it will no longer be a house rule.
Yeah, he wants to like petition the company, be like, make this the real rule so that I can be at 100%.
Yeah.
So I can beat Mr. Fucking Clean at his own game.
I mean, there's just one exception to my hating house rules, but I am of the opinion that playing a game experience is much like going to a nice restaurant. The chef should be competent, and I shouldn't have to season my food. Like, if you go to a nice restaurant, a lot of times they don't even have salt and pepper at the table, and it would be offensive to ask them for salt and pepper. If the game designer is good and the publisher is good, the game should be good. It shouldn't need house rules. And I just feel I feel like I'm paying for an experience, and I want their vision of it. Now, in this game, at 2 players specifically, you don't see, it's a civilization type game where you play a nation. The game is called Nations, oddly, and you go through like 4 ages of the civilization, and every round cards come out, and you're like buying these cards that are different buildings and wars and battles and things like that. But the number of cards that come out is based on the number of players, and there's a lot of cards, so you don't get to see them all. And if no production buildings come out, like, it's a thing that 2 experienced players can deal with. You can deal with not getting production, and it's still really, really good. But a new player doesn't have enough skills at the game to deal with that. And with 2 players, it's much more likely to happen because of the amount of cards that come out. So when I play with 2 players, specifically, the first time I play with somebody, I play with a very, very minor house rule. Other than that, no house rules.
So many caveats in that sentence. You're
There's
just like,
one caveat.
It's only this one time, and it's only this player count. Only their first time play.
It's not like a slippery slope.
A specific temperature.
Yeah, like 3 players, don't use it. Playing 2-player with somebody who's already played, don't use it. It's just that very, very edge case where it can lead to a bad experience. And I want people to like that game so badly that I will play with a house rule.
And that's it. That's the only one that comes to mind. There's no other house rule that you're like, okay, I can roll with that.
I don't think so. Ian could probably call me on it if he knows one, but I can't think of another time where I've purposely gamed with a house rule.
I'm drawing a blank, but only because we had this conversation before. I think if someone out there who's heard us have this conversation before has a better memory than we do, they will probably post a receipt somewhere.
They're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Now, with like Cosmic Encounter, I play with a lot of the optional variants, but they're all official. I'm all about when a game allows me to customize my experience, I'm happy to do that. And if there are variant rules, like, I'll try those, because sometimes, like in Wasteland Express Delivery Service, it's a post-apocalyptic trucking, and it has like a square board, and I really liked like Pac-Man style movement. If you went off the right-hand side of the board, you just wrapped around to the left-hand side. It was fun and harder to predict what people are doing, but the publisher didn't want that rule, so we included it as a variant. So like, you can play with it or not.
That's the one where like you had 2 co-designers on that one, and you each got your own variant in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, there are 3 different variants, and it's so good. But the weird thing is I absolutely love mods when it comes to video games. And mods are kind of like house rules a little bit. Like, if I'm playing like a Fallout or Bethesda game, like, first thing I do is install a mod that takes away the weight of the items, or gives me like 1 million tons of carrying capacity.
Or fixes the bugs.
No, that's not that bad.
That one doesn't exist. I feel like that's something that John and we have in common. And Ian, you're on the complete opposite side of the fence, which does baffle me.
Baffles me because he has the worst reason for it ever.
So go ahead and what is your side of this? Of what do you, my brain, I've shut down. I can't sentence anymore. What is your take on Bethesda Games, Jay?
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan. I expect bugs. So, I go in, I really set myself an expectation and separate kind of like the gameplay experience and even the graphical quality for the story. I'm hoping that I'm going to get, at the end of the day, a cool, cohesive story with some really interesting moments. I kind of attribute that back to playing like Pokemon when I was a kid. Playing those like the Pokemon Red, graphics were, it was a handheld game. Imagination kind of made that larger than life. So I fill in the gap. So graphically, it doesn't have to look great. That's actually pretty low on my list. I'm always surprised when graphics are awesome. But Bethesda games traditionally deliver some sort of story, at least some cool moments that happen, make it memorable.
Oh, they always have so many great subplots.
Right. And I don't mind the bugs. I don't know how many games that I've been like, most of the photos that I've taken from video games have been because of bugs, and I thought they were hilarious. Like Dragon Age Inquisition, back when it came out. My character's arms, for whatever reason, the arms started spinning like 360. I don't know why. And then for the rest of this really long cutscene, they were like broken. So the shoulders were like snapped back, and it looked like they were leaning back on this bed, but the arms were just like bent in, and I'm like, that looks really weird.
They're doing the helicopter arms like you do when you're getting in the pit. It's getting real rough.
Yeah. Yep, that's what was happening. But yeah, no, I personally don't mind it. I expect it. Save often. You can avoid any sort of like game breaking. Hopefully there's nothing game breaking in there. But
I mean, in one of those games, I'm saving like every 5 minutes anyways. So I can be like, oh, I made a bad decision. I'm going to rewind. Because I'm a dirty save scummer.
Looking at Bethesda games, looking at just Fallout specifically, a lot of people love New Vegas. That is really, I like the game and everything, but it's really low on my list because I hate the way the story plays out.
Mm-hmm.
Just not for me.
I feel like Ian's argument is always been really weak too, because I've never played an open world game a portion of the size as big as any of the Fallout games without bugs. Like, it's not a Bethesda thing, it's a large game thing. When you have something that big, like, weird stuff's gonna happen.
My argument, and I wrote this down to make sure that I say that we've covered this topic, is my argument against Bethesda games is it's more like BOO-thesda. Am I right?
God damn
it. Is it too early to quit the podcast?
Well, that's the show, everybody.
Yep. Thanks for listening. 1 episode, we're done.
But no, it's
that'd be amazing.
It's exactly it's what you're saying, Jay. You're saying that when you go into Bethesda games, you set the bar really low.
That wasn't the main point he made.
I set the bar really medium.
He sets the bar lower because he expects there to be bugs. And what I'm saying is the things that they promise get so dragged down by the bugs. It's like one of my friends, who is a mutual friend of ours, we're going to call him, I don't know, DJ.
Now, mind you, this is your friend and not even your experience playing the games.
Sure, it made me not want to play the games ever again. DJ, who is a friend of Jay and mine.
Did you play them in the first place?
I mean, a little bit. I didn't have them. I didn't go out and buy them.
I know how you play video games. I feel like it's pretty easy to convince you not to play a video game.
That's developed.
It really is.
That is something that's developed over time. We used to play video games a lot, but yeah, we'll get into that later.
Anyway, our mutual friend DJ, he was playing, I'm pretty sure it was Skyrim, because that's the one that I assume has been out for 100 years now. And this was probably, 15 years ago, so that tracks. So he's playing Skyrim, and he was like talking about it, and this just nonchalantly, he was just like, yeah, I got about 20 hours in, and then the person I was supposed to be turning this mission into just like phased into a rock. So I couldn't progress anymore. But it's whatever, I was only 20 hours in, so I just restarted. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? How is 20 hours of your time just gone? Like, not a deal breaker for you.
Because the games are so good, you're like, oh yeah, I'll just play through the first 20 hours again, because it was great, and maybe I'll make some different changes. Like, I'm definitely not going to play a stealth archer this time in Skyrim.
I mean, that is interesting that is the point of where you were like, oh, yeah, I'm not doing that.
I would argue 20 hours is more than you've played any video game in the last probably 10 years.
I think that's where it cut off, and he's like, I'm putting in 3, maybe.
So there's like 3 games that I've beaten, but other than that, you're not wrong.
If you just play the first 3 hours of Bethesda game, you're going to have a great time. The bugs typically don't happen that fast.
I'll get Starfield, play 3 hours, and be like, space is all right, I guess, and then fuck off to something else.
Yeah, yep.
But, like, I've lost my save file in Super Mario Brothers. Like, it's not a thing that's impossible to happen. It's not a Bethesda thing. Like, bugs happen in games.
Yeah.
But it's so attached to Bethesda that Jay himself was just like, I set my expectations medium because of it.
So, it's an interesting thing. I say I set my expectations, and it's specifically for bugs. I set it kind of in the middle lower because I expect them. I kind of don't want them to impact my gameplay. I have other expectations for the game. In my mind, I try to keep it like right in the middle. If it's like a 0 to 10, I try to keep it a 5. That's where I always try to keep the game, because if I overhype it, then I can be disappointed. I feel like I tried to do that with every game, but Bethesda's are very specific.
I think like every Bethesda game I've played is an S tier.
Okay.
Like just for the experience.
Yeah, I mean, they're all really good. Like, I'm trying to think, do I have a specific thing that happened in each one of them that is not a meme or a bug that is good? And I don't know.
I mean, I have so many cool moments from all of them. Like, just so many memories of Skyrim. Like, discovering new places.
Oh, yeah, Skyrim for sure.
And same with Fallout. I love all those little tucked-in corners. Like, to me, they're one of the best open-world games, just because the worlds feel so livid. And, like, Red Dead Redemption 2, I took probably 20 videos of different bugs that happened in that. And I made a point to send them to Ian every time, because he's like, I think that was when we first started having this argument. I was like, Ian, every game is like this.
Yeah. Send me your bugs. Hey, everyone, send me your bugs from
Ian
games that aren't Bethesda. Or send them your bugs of games that are Bethesda. We'll just see who's got more bugs. Show me your bugs.
Wait, so you're making the argument that the handful of Bethesda games have more bugs than every other game in existence combined?
I'm going to answer your question with a statement. I guess with a question. Do you know what game that I played all the way through?
What?
Cyberpunk 2077.
Holy shit, for real.
Yeah, I beat that game.
This is very shocking to me.
I will say, it was a great experience on Stadia.
That's where I played it on Stadia.
It is the use case for Stadia, because it played so well.
Yeah. I mean, I played the PS4 version on PS5, and I knew where to avoid that would make things crash at certain points. I can see the density of some of the objects in the world, and I'm like, no, that's not great. So I played it day one all the way through with minor bugs after, I found like, okay, cool, it crashed here once. Just reload, a minute before that, and then just not go that way, and it solves the little problem. I just went back and played the PS5 copy on a PS5, and everything 100% fixed. There was literally no issues for me from beginning to end. Doing everything. Literally platinuming it a second time.
Yeah.
I have some videos saved of my fun experiences that I had in Cyberpunk 2077. But like the weird part is that for some reason all of that makes sense in the Cyberpunk world, and none of that makes sense in like the Fallout or Skyrim world to me. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is about like the random shit that happened, but it's like, oh yeah, well, there's weird ass technology, so of course my driver, the person driving the car, is just gonna keep running into this pedestrian 18 times while they're talking to me about being a police officer.
Yeah, it's a cyber weird glitch.
Just wrote it off. That's awesome.
My complaint about Cyberpunk is entirely that it's the one game in existence where you should have an AR thing on the road telling you where to drive and not have to look at the mini map, and they don't do it.
Okay.
I was like, Keanu Reeves pops into my vision all the time. You couldn't put arrows on the roads for me?
So, I mean, this game, I like this game a lot, and I'm glad it organically came up in conversation. The second time playing through, it's creeped up there in one of my favorite games of the past couple generations.
Do you think it's going to be like No Man's Sky, where over time they really make it shine?
I don't think so. I think that they're going to do the DLC and then be done with it, and then it'll be a long time probably before, if ever, we get something else Cyberpunk, just because of the bad taste in people's mouths.
I don't know if I agree with that, because recently in the board game universe, there is a board game in that universe that's just been created, right? It's based off of the Cyberpunk Red RPG, which is very popular, but that's not like they need to keep making stuff for it because of that, right? But also there's like a Netflix show that's coming out.
So yeah, all of this was roadmap.
Yeah, obviously this is just stuff that's already like, oh, we were already making this, so we have to put it out. But I feel like at this point you've you're in the sunk cost fallacy a little bit, right? Like I don't know if I can see them being like, all right, well, we're not going to support the game anymore, we're not going to support the show anymore, we're just going to do one season of the show or whatever. and then get up and walk away.
Netflix would never do that.
Yeah, no, that never happens, especially not at Netflix.
R.I.P. Cowboy Bebop and everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see their plan going forward. There's like some key indicators when it comes to just their design of what they're doing. Their engine, the Red engine, they're like, we're going to use it for the rest of Cyberpunk that we're doing, and then we're done with the Red engine. We're going to be using Unreal 5, which is a monster of a video game engine.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. You can animate literally in engine, which is like kind of unheard of. The texturing quality, and it's such a powerful engine. And they're like, we're going to use that going forward. So there's kind of going to be nothing left, you know? They're ditching the engine that they used to make that previously. While they could, typically they reuse assets. That was a big thing when Horizon Forbidden West was coming out. The way that Aloy was swinging down a rope or something, they're like, that's a reused asset. And it's like, yeah, it's already made. Like, why would we make it again?
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense.
We don't need a slightly different rope animation.
Right, and that's why I always like to think that second games should be better than the first in the video game world. And I don't know, I personally, I could see Netflix just being like, one season, okay, cool, we got a very mediocre reaction. A lot of people talk trash about it online because of things that went down with the game. And we're going to go ahead and close up shop on that. That bums me out. I think, and it might just be me tempering my expectation for what's to come. Not getting excited for a second game, for a game, Cyberpunk, that just was something that I really wanted.
Yeah.
Almost everything was something that I really wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking forward to it since that first trailer, like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that looks cool. I'll play it for 2 hours.
And how long did you play it? Because you beat it.
Yeah, I think it was like 45 hours total. Dang. I did as much of the story stuff as I wanted to. Pretty much all the main story stuff. I didn't do any of like the gig jobs because those just seemed like fluff, and some of them were really hard, and I didn't want to take time to. I didn't want to keep repeating them. I was like, oh, this guy keeps shooting me. Stop! I'm not doing this anymore. I'm out. You can keep your data sticks or whatever.
I mean, some of the side stories were super, super memorable, like Cinderman. I don't know if you guys remember that side mission.
I did not finish it.
Okay.
This is one of them weird otherworld things where I finished a game and John didn't.
I think I was maybe playing God of War at the time and was really torn between those two.
Whoops. I still got to beat that one.
Yeah, you chose well, Ian.
I love that game so much. I haven't beat it.
I mean, we're coming close. Now would be a good time to, like, go wrap it up, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'd have to start over again. God forbid you replay part of a game.
Why don't you go pick up, like, Returnal or something and see if you remember all the controls?
No, I would start it over, just like I would a Bethesda game if I lost my save.
I mean, this is interesting that we stumbled upon something. The whole intent here was just Ian not liking to play games for more than like 2 hours. We stumbled upon a game that he not only played for 45 hours, but he completed. It's kind of hard to come back from this.
Yeah, it's kind of breaking my whole mystique here. I have a full list of games that I've only played for 2 weeks or for a couple of hours, and now I gotta bust out the ones I've actually beaten. This is...
Well, I mean, growing up, we played a lot of games. Well, I think it was a different time, of course. We played a lot of video games, and I think it was because it wasn't like we have access to all of these games. You would get a game and you would have access. You would have that one game for like 2 years, right? Like, how long did we play like Tony Hawk Pro Skater games?
Oh, yeah. Oh, constantly.
Probably like 3 summers. That was the thing that we played.
I have such a vivid memory. I think it was you, me, and Claire playing, was it probably No Mercy, right? The best WWE game?
Yes. I was going to bring up a wrestling game as well, but I was like, which one?
I have one specific vivid memory. It was like doing a battle royale. I was Rikishi, and we had a system. So I would be up in the corner, ready to jump. They would get into the ring, and either you or Claire would punch them and send them at me, and I would Rikishi bomb them, which is to take the wrestler's sumo-size proportions and jump onto them. And then once that happens, then throw them over the top of the ring. And I remember this moment not because it worked perfectly. It's because someone, as they were running, I don't know, one of the AI players or whatever, punched Rikishi in the butt, and he fell over the top rope. And I lost. Just broke our system completely.
Man, you played a buggy game?
No, he just punched me, and that's kind of what happens.
Oh.
You fall off.
No Mercy was really loose with the rules. There were things that looked like they were bugs, but that's just kind of what happened. There was not collision on a lot of the weapons, but they did basically put like a damage indicator on them. So if you like threw someone headfirst into a chair, it would look like they hit the chair, but they could come up with blood. Whereas it would be different if they just hit the mat, where they likely wouldn't have come up with blood on their face. That game was ahead of its time.
On their 4 square pixels that made up their face.
Yeah, yeah. Again, drawing, using our imagination to kind of fill in the blanks that technology couldn't at the time. Yeah, that one was really good. And then fast forward to, man, we were so hyped for Borderlands. Just, like, all the way leading up to Borderlands 1.
Mm-hmm.
I see the office that I work in happens to be inside of the Gearbox Entertainment offices, and so I see the Game Informer that I remember you having, and us reading about Borderlands for like the first time, because there wasn't like YouTube or whatever, right?
Right. I mean, there probably was, but I don't know if it was used in that way.
Yeah, I don't know if people are putting trailers up on there yet. Yeah. Should have seen like that first like Game Informer where it was like what Borderlands was originally. It wasn't even, it was before it changed.
Yeah. That was really awesome, and that's why a lot of people, they're like, oh, Borderlands 1, gameplay wise, I mean, not as good. Might skip that one, and I'm like, no. That's the one. What do you mean? Those characters are the best characters. Those are my favorite characters.
They just still remains my favorite of the series.
That's good to hear.
I think when we played, it was the two of us would play, and I think there was always a third who was just waiting to like swap out, and then we'd swap out, and then they would jump in, and we'd level up their character a little bit. And I think through that process, I played every single one of the characters except for Brick. I don't think I ever played Brick, because I think it's the only trophy I didn't have was like get Brick up to level 5.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. I had one friend that I played the game with from beginning to end, and he was Brick. Always. He was always Brick, and I was always Mordecai. I always made use for a Roland man at the end of the day.
But we played through with Roland, and then I played through with Lilith, and then I was like, I think for once I was able to be Mordecai, because either you weren't, or we were playing where it was our other friend who was playing as Brick. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna be Mordecai this time.
Yeah, he's straight up, Mordecai is my favorite character just from our interactions. I think it's funny how that happens with video games. Like you can find a favorite. They might not even be the best character in the group or whatever, but because of other people that you played with, it elevated the experience. Or because the game was so just prevalent in a group of friends, even though the game might not have been the most recognized game in the bunch, that one's just a little bit more on your radar than others.
Yep. Didn't have no bugs.
No bugs. Not a single one.
I'm trying to think, and that's what I was doing. I was like, was there bugs in Borderlands that I can't remember any, but you remember the good times, right?
Right.
Unless it's Bethesda.
All right, well, I think that's going to be enough for us for this first episode. It was, if anything, Funbalanced. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Funbalanced. And for Jay, John, and myself, we will see you next week.
Yay.
So like in 2 weeks.
Hey, it's Jay here. Are you craving more things Funbalanced? If so, you should check out the Mammoth Games Cast. Comes out every single Monday on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. It's a video game deep dive podcast. Have you ever wondered, where do I get into this older video game series? Is it even worth it? Or how do I manage hype around video games? You should join myself, Austin, Johnny Riot, and Brian every single week as we help you navigate this video game industry. If you like what you hear, drop us a review. That helps other people find us. And if you want more, you can follow us on Twitter at Mammoth Games Inc. As always, thank you for listening to the Funbalanced Podcast Network.